Hello. Okay, who knew? Who knew of all the places that I would have to film? I want to do it on my bed. It's been like a really crazy week. I thought 2020 was long. I felt like this week was longer. Over the past week, I've been on Twitter, half fighting, half talking, half discussing. I know that's 1.5 already. It's all part of it. Just talking about race, talking about Black Lives Matter, talking about gender inequality, talking about sexual assault and all that kind of thing. And it's really been mentally exhausting to have to argue with these people on why human rights are something to be debated and argued over. That to me is like still unbelievable. But I also at the same time feel very excited that people are speaking out and people are being a little bit more vocal and they're not stopped by people who just want to keep the status quo, and instead we're calling these people out. Like, why do you want to keep the status quo when it hasn't been equal to everyone? There's clear discrimination and prejudice. And anyway, this week is the start of the month of June, right? Happy Pride to everybody. For those of you that don't know, June is actually Pride Month, which means that they celebrate the LGBTQIA plus community, and I am one of these people. It's weird, like, saying this in front of a camera, like having a whole video to address it, because the thing is, I've never really hid it. I've always just been myself, and I've always had the impression that, like, okay, as long as I know who I am and as long as the people who need to know, i.e. the people that I want to date or my close friends whom I discuss my dating life with, then it's fine. But I also realize that this is an incredible privilege that I have, almost like choosing not to disclose my sexual orientation. And so I just kind of want to sit down and talk about it, also because I've brought this up numerous times and everyone's like pretty interested, I guess, in what I have to say. I also have to get over my like whole, is this even worth talking about? Like, is my situation worth talking about? So I think like those are points that I want to kind of get across today. So I'm gonna start off with a quick introduction. Hi, I'm Brenda. I'm 24 this year. I live in Singapore and I use the pronouns she, her, and I consider myself pansexual, but sometimes I just say I'm bisexual for people to understand and not make jokes about me liking pots and pans. Okay, I don't know why I'm so nervous. I really want to do my fellow bisexuals and pansexuals some justice. I don't know if I myself feel a little bit like an imposter because, I don't know, like my sexual orientation hasn't like really come up much in the recent years. Okay, so the first thing I want to get into is the definition of bisexuality and pansexuality, and why I feel comfortable with saying I'm bisexual when I'm really pansexual and what that actually means. Bisexuality refers to a person who is attracted to people of the same gender as themselves, as well as those of different genders. I'm actually gonna leave a video of, I think, Hank Green's video explaining like sexual orientation and identities. I think it was made like at least a few years back, but I still find it very easy with charts and everything to sort of demonstrate what I'm talking about. Some people just don't feel comfortable being like, yes, I am a man, or yes, I am a woman. They don't fit the stereotypes, they don't fit the norms, they don't like the convention of gender. They just think like, nah. Some people just renounce it entirely. So those are the people that I'm attracted to as well. Some bisexual people are only attracted to just men and women, right? But that's not every bisexual person's experience. Pansexuality, on the other hand, is an identity label used to describe a person who is attracted to all gender identities, including people that don't identify as any gender. So the main difference between that is multiple and all genders. That's the main difference between like bisexuality and pansexuality. For me, I've always seen myself as pansexual. The easiest way for me to sort of convey this idea is to tell people that I'm gender blind. Oh my god, it's so cute that I'm sort of like thinking back to how like my 18-year-old self used to say it. I remember when I was younger, I think a lot of people like accused other girls, including myself sometimes, of dating other girls or like identifying as being gay or queer because we wanted to seem like edgy or cool. Like we went to girls' school, so I was just like really like, oh, wow, she's like dating someone else in our school. That's always the kind of rep that I got, and that's why I think I was also embarrassed like by the time I got out of that particular phase in life. Like I had short hair, I was very clearly queer. Like I was not straight, you could tell. After, and you know, looking like this, right, it's become a little bit more difficult to talk about my identity because first of all, people want me to prove it, people don't believe it, or people think that I'm just trying to use that to seem cool, edgy, hipster again, but in a different way, because I obviously don't look queer. And there are times where I'm like, should I dress more masculine, especially if I want to like attract. So I'm like, should I be more gay to like I have to start from the top. Okay, so I have to start from the top. Alright. Cool. Oh, mini story time. I was 14. The thing is, I don't think I ever had a crush on this particular girl. She's very masculine. And I think it was quite clear even before like we all sort of acknowledged that there are lesbians. You know, like when you're sec 1, when you're 13, like you don't look at someone and you go, yo, you're definitely gay. Like we live in such a sheltered community. As a 12-year-old kid, I wasn't exposed to the idea of like homosexuality being acceptable, being, you know, amongst like people our age, like 13, 14. I just always thought, okay, 2 gay guys, they're gay. 2 women, lesbian. That's it. But it's like a foreign concept to me that I've never really seen like translated in real life. That's also why representation is important, but we'll get back into that later. At that point, I think I just wanted to be close to her in terms of like a friendship way. I think I just wanted to get to know her better. So we started like texting more and more. And I realized that very quickly the messages had gotten to like I'm hiding all of my messages and my phone from my parents. Her telling me that, like leaving notes under my desk like poetry, and it was very obvious like it was like a romantic situation. And then when I did realize that it was getting somewhere a little bit more like romantic and a little bit more sexual, that I was like, what? I wasn't against the idea of dating specifically her as a person. I was just not sure whether like this was something that I identified as. You know, like if I was talking to her, is it because I'm in a girls' school and she's very butch, she's very masculine and she reminds me of a guy? But on the other side, I'm like, I clearly know that she's not. You know what I mean? Like I've been to like a mixed primary school. I've like mixed with boys like my whole life. And previously, all the way up to that, I've never had a crush on a girl before. But even as a kid, like because I'm so like romantic and I love films and I'm very sentimental, like I've always had the idea of like a perfect relationship. For some reason, I've always pictured that with a boy. My prince. It's always been like that. I've never even considered the possibility that I could end up with a woman. No one told me. No one told me that was possible. I didn't see it in my life. So I was like, that's not like what? So I was like mind blown, but not in a good way. And I was like very emotionally like very mixed about it. I was like, what is going on? So I was like, am I lesbian? Like I was like, oh my god, like what? So I stopped talking to her for a while, and I think I may have hurt her feelings. If there's any chance you see this, I know you know who you are. I'm really sorry. I just like didn't know how to sort my shit out, and I felt bad, you know, because I was like, maybe I just wanted to be friends. I didn't know that it would go down this route. Like, why did we have to go down this route? My current best friend now, this was before we were even best friends, like we were just classmates. We were doing like some kind of like school project together. We were out filming, you know, like school class projects, you have to go out and film. So then I was just so like in my head and thinking about this so hard. And also because this particular girl was my classmate, I didn't want to like talk about it and like gossip. I think my current best friend now, Sarah, she saw that I was really distracted, and so she asked me, and then I finally sort of told her like a short summary, and then I was like, what's going on? Because I also didn't know what I was feeling for this particular girl, right? And then she just like looked at me, and it's funny because like all of my biggest revelations in life have been people asking me like, don't you think you're blank? She just looked at me and she was like, do you ever consider the possibility that you might be like bisexual? So like you like men and women? And then I was like, oh, can I was immediately so much more relieved and like more comfortable with what I was feeling. I was like, oh, okay, fuck, yeah, okay, that makes sense. That sort of led me to a more comfortable position in like having crushes on women, like having crushes on girls. So for the whole time until I was like mid-15, maybe 16, I'm not sure, maybe 15, I went on Tumblr. It was poppin' back then. I came across the term pansexuality, and I was like, oh shit, that's even better. That describes me even more. The main difference between bisexuality and pansexuality, as I said, is multiple versus all. So I feel like bisexuality can sort of be an umbrella term. Like people that are pansexual are also bisexual, but people that are bisexual may not all be pansexual. So I was like, oh, this is great. Like this is something even more specific that's tailored to me, that reflects accurately how I feel. And how I feel is that I'm just gender blind. Like it doesn't matter to me what gender you identify as if you don't identify as having any, if you are fluid, if you're non-binary, or if you are like, I'm a girl, bitch. I'm proud of it. If I want to seduce you, I will seduce you. Whatever you're working with, like below your waist, like it really doesn't matter to me. Like if I'm attracted to you, I can't help myself. I'm attracted to people by their character, by their heart, by their intellect, by our chemistry. I don't close myself off to the possibility of dating or forming like a close romantic relationship with anyone of any gender because of that. I always felt like that was something that made sense for me, and that is something that I'm not just like saying to be like cool or to be like, yeah, I want world peace, I'll date everybody. It's just really something that I have seen from my track record, like of all the people that I've dated women who identify as women, more feminine lesbians, more butch lesbians, people that don't identify as either. So my current partner now is very gender fluid. I don't see gender with her. I say the pronouns her because she doesn't mind any pronouns. Like I've started like 8 years ago being her friend, so I'm like used to pronouns. And then I've dated very hetero, very vanilla men, and I wouldn't say that I have any preconceptions with anyone of any gender, or I don't like group them, oh, this is a hetero male, okay, I should expect this kind of a relationship. In terms of intimacy, in terms of like how often we meet or like where this is going, etc., like I don't have like limits to where I can go with like different genders. And I also want to say that just because I'm pansexual doesn't mean that I'm attracted to everybody. I obviously have standards. I don't actually even date like that much. So it's very funny to me that someone can say that, oh, you're bisexual, that means you're a whore or a slut, or you're greedy, or you're selfish, or you're commitment phobic, or you are what else do they say? Let's think of all the mean things that people can say. And if you're pansexual, like it means that you have like no standards, you just want to date everyone. The same way that a woman won't date every single guy on this planet, and the same way a man wouldn't date every single woman on this planet, I obviously wouldn't date every single person on this planet. I have like probably higher standards than most people. I'm very like picky because I like being single. So if I want to be with you, like I have to be so horrendously in love with you and want it to be like a long-term thing for it to even be a relationship. Pansexuality simply means that I can find myself attracted to everyone in all of these gender categories. So the reason why I like didn't want to talk about pansexuality before this, or why I have actually stopped telling people that I'm pansexual and I just say that I'm bisexual now, is because of the bad rap that it's getting, and also because I have to give this like 10-minute explanation into what pansexuality means, because it is different from bisexuality, and then I'm almost always met with like a dismissive laugh, or just like, also you like pots and pans, so messy, so like complicated, just say you bi lah, you know, that kind of thing. And because like I said, you know, bi is like an umbrella term for pansexuality, I just say bi. It's easier for people to understand, and most bi people don't also just go by the whole like binary men women sort of route. I don't want to hear people telling me that I'm pretentious for saying that I'm pansexual anymore. It's just kind of like lame. If there's a term to better identify what I am and to explain, why shouldn't I use it? And I've heard some people say that, I mean when I was like younger, like in secondary school, oh yeah, like I'm dating a girl now so I'm gay. Oh yeah, I'm dating a guy now so I'm straight. That's not the case. Like I would still be bi, I would still be pan if I was dating a guy, if I was dating a girl, if I was dating someone that doesn't identify as any gender. That's still my sexual orientation. I still have the potential to be attracted. This also doesn't mean I'm gonna cheat on my partner, because I'm in a monogamous relationship and monogamy extends to everybody regardless of your orientation. It's kind of crazy that I'm like actually talking about this. I don't know, I thought like the best way to go about letting people get used to my sexuality and my sexual orientation is just to not really mention it until I feel like it's necessary to. I didn't want to shove it down people's faces because I didn't want to be met with a lot of the stuff that I've been already met with, like, are you sure you're gay? Is this just a phase? Like, oh, you're such a unique little snowflake. Like, oh, you're just trying to be so cute and like quirky and cool. I previously also didn't feel like I was qualified to talk about being bi because I was single for 3 years before that. I was in a stable relationship with a guy, a hetero guy. And even before that, like even before I'd gotten into any relationship, I had only dated girls at that point. Yeah. Maybe like 1 or 2 guys. And I went to Pink Dot with like a group of people, right? One of the guys in the friend group trying to hit on me, and I was like, whatever. We were all like at Pink Dot, like ready to light up the lights, right? If anyone doesn't know what Pink Dot is, it's an annual event to sort of fight for like gay rights in Singapore, basically by repealing Penal Code 377A, which is the law that criminalizes 2 men having sex. It's kind of like a huge event. It's our version of Pride. We all wear pink and we like deck out. There are like mini activities, like booths, performances, and then we do the thing where we light up the light, right? We were getting ready to light up the light. It was like 3, 2, 1 and then press, and then people were already like having their lights on, and the MC of the whole event was like, please turn your lights off. And behind, I heard this guy say, oh my god, it's so irritating. Why can't people just understand and leave the lights off? Must be all the straight people fucking things up for us. Because it was just so loud and so obnoxious, right? I just turned around to see who the hell was talking, and I think it was because like me and the guy friend like both turned around the same time to see, and he was like, oops, sorry. But I just like remember that so distinctly because I was like, I'm not straight. And you fucking look at me, you think I'm straight? And it's just like funny lor, cause then I realized like, wow, like without my short hair, without like my rep in like my previous girls' school, like I am straight. Like no matter what I truly am, people are just gonna see me like I'm straight. And I don't wanna be that girl that's like sitting here crying and be like, I'm gay, take me as gay, I'm not straight. You know, I don't want people to be like, oh boo-hoo, this fucking girl thinks that she's like queer when she looks so straight. And I have to admit, like I've never been harassed, I mean, except for like that one time with my uncle, about being gay or like dating a woman before. Also because like I've kept it so chill. And even before that, I mean, I was like 16, 17, 18. So they weren't serious relationships. So I just kind of kept them like on the DL because this is what I would do with any other like hetero relationship too, right? But I think like the fact that I haven't brought them up or talked about them just made me complicit in like the whole heteronormative world. So because I present so feminine, I didn't have a girlfriend to show off, you know, at Pink Dot, which is like, honestly, to me, very upsetting. I was like hoping that I could hit on someone at Pink Dot, and I passed like so much as straight. Like people would look at me and be like, yeah, she's just a normal straight girl. And because I hadn't gotten any of the backlash, I feel like it was not my place to talk about being bi, or that it was in my place to talk about discrimination of the LGBTQIA community because I felt more like an ally than part of the community, to be very honest. So eventually like I stopped going to Pink Dot, also because it's just very claustrophobic. It's a lot of people, and I just felt like I wasn't queer enough. Like honestly, I just felt like I wasn't part of the thing. I felt like people didn't look at me like I was part of the thing, because also there are a lot of allies, a lot of like straight people going to Pink Dot, right, which is great. So I just felt like my voice didn't need to be heard. Oh, boo-hoo, I know. Okay, but seriously, I just feel like I'm finally at this point where I can be a lot more vocal about it because I'm in a relationship with someone who is biologically female. Yeah, I feel like I have finally like proven myself, which is like a really sad way to think about it lah, because I don't think that we should let our past dating history like dictate like how queer or how straight we are. And also at the same time, I feel like my current partner is someone who's not really feminine, not really like super masculine. She's not a typical like butch lesbian. She's just very like gender non-binary. So I also feel like it's another kind of privilege to be in a same-sex relationship or same gender relationship with someone who looks more masculine as someone who looks more feminine, because like people can see the relationship dynamics and go, okay, that makes sense, because it resembles a straight relationship. You know, there's always like the who's the guy, who's the girl. That's something that I'm not okay with also, because I feel like everyone's relationship is like on their own terms, and I obviously don't feel like Mavis is like the boyfriend of the relationship and I'm the girlfriend. Even that is already like very stereotypical and very harmful to like relationship dynamics. Yeah, I just want to kind of bring that up because like I don't know if this is gonna sound like a pity party for someone who's obviously like very privileged to not get any of the backlash, right? But I just feel like I was never comfortable talking about it because I was not straight enough to be heterosexual, and I still feel trepidation and like hesitation in talking about dating women unless I know that you are like my close friend and I know you're okay with it and I want to talk to you about it. I feel ashamed for being ashamed. Like I feel like I shouldn't be mincing my words. I shouldn't be pretending that I'm straight or not showing people the gay side of myself. If I want to forge like closer friendships, if I want to be more honest with myself, and if I want to not feel like I have something to hide. That's why people come out, right? That's why people want to make it such a public statement. It doesn't feel like you're living your life authentically because there's such a big part of yourself that you have to hide away, or you have to pretend doesn't exist, or you can only say for a certain small group of people. Having been in a straight hetero relationship with a man, I can just say, oh, my boyfriend this, my boyfriend that. I can post stories about my boyfriend and it's like all fun and games, and then the moment I'm like dating a woman, I feel like I have to be so much more private about it just because I don't know when I would ever hear something that I really don't need to hear. I'm speaking from my experience and my experience of my other bi friends who have kept it like very low key. I feel like there's this like kind of invisibility that we've sort of adopted just to shield ourselves from discrimination or prejudice, or even just like being stereotyped. And a lot of people again like to ridicule like bisexuals and pansexuals for liking pans, for being greedy, being selfish. If it's a guy, they'll be like, oh, you're just a closeted gay, like you just don't come out like all the way. With girls, like we're usually told to be more performative, like to prove it, or like to kiss this girl, to kiss that girl, like, oh, do you ever have a girlfriend, have you ever had sex with a woman? Like it's always like these things that I feel make me and other bi pan girls like wanna sort of not talk about it to people who don't want to listen, or who we feel like wouldn't take the information very well. And this happens within the gay community as well, right? Because like I also date guys, so there's like, but you're not really gay because you also date guys. I just always felt like not here, not there. Like I didn't know what exactly I dared to identify with. Like, do I dare say I'm straight? Because when I do pass off as straight and don't mention my sexual orientation for a while, I really miss out on dating so many beautiful women. If I say that I'm queer, then I know you just had a boyfriend, what? Like, no, you just had this, you know, you had that. Like, I don't qualify as being gay, as being queer. Yeah, so I just kind of want to talk about bi erasure. So that's what that kind of means, right? The erasure of bi people, as if bi people don't actually exist, that it's not a real thing. Sorry to say, it's completely real. And it's not as uncommon as you think it is. Okay, growing up in a girls' school, you know, the pivotal point, like secondary school, right? It's inevitable that you'll meet lesbians, you'll meet people that are bi, you have girls crushing on seniors usually, or like, you know, having crushes from people like across classes. And I had my fair share of those. I don't know, like it's really not as uncommon as you think it is, even if you think it's a phase. Like I think a lot of people just maybe like after secondary school, like me, you know, instead of it being just a phase, they just like keep it a little bit more low-key. Because I think in a girls' school, like you're more exposed to the idea and possibility of liking a girl, you know, dating a girl just for a short while even, you know. I guess once you reach like tertiary levels like JC, poly, uni, everyone's just like, okay, but there are like options, like there are guys here now, so you just date them. And if you do decide to date them, you're like, oh, like it was like you were never gay. And this shouldn't be news, right? I think a lot of people are afraid of bisexuality because of the power it holds. Like, can you imagine being attracted to, you got such a bigger pool of people to choose from. If I had stuck to the conventions of just like only wanting to date straight, hetero men, like cis meaning like cisgendered, my options would be so much more narrow. The sexual orientations of being gay and being straight are extremes, even if you don't want to think about it that way. If I'm gay, it means that I only want to date people of my same gender. If I'm straight, it means I only want to date people of the opposite gender. So those are extremes because you only want to date a very specific group of people, no one else you want to date. Is it really that incredible that someone doesn't mind, like, you know, falling into somewhere in the middle or like skewing a little bit off of that extreme? Like, I think it's okay. If you're not straight, you probably know this, but like the Kinsey scale, so from 0 to 6, you can sort of place yourself along the line. 0 meaning that I'm completely heterosexual, I only like opposite gender. If you are 6, it means that you only like the same gender, you're very, very homosexual. And the most beautiful thing about this scale is that it can always change. like your preferences. And I know that, like I said, sexual orientation is not really like a preference that you have for food, but it's more of like what you're inclined towards, like what you're attracted towards. Sometimes you can't help attraction, but for me, I feel like my preference, what kind of people I want to date, sometimes gender does play a part in it. Sometimes I'm more in the mood to date women, sometimes I'm in the mood to date men, but most of the time, like, it's always fallen right in the middle. Like, I'm a good 3, you know, on the scale. And now I would say I'm on a good like 5, but there have been times where I was like on a 1, on a 2. The scale can change over years, the scale can change over months, or even days, or even hours. If you're like me and if you brought up like straight, you know, your whole life, you're just sort of on 0. And if you go into, let's say, secondary school, you got maybe like a crush on a girl, maybe you have some sort of a flirtation, you could be like bi-curious, you know, you could be like on a 1, you could still stay at the 1 and still get involved with like a heterosexual relationship and then end up marrying and having kids, but you could always still be a 1, and that would still be considered, if you want to consider that for yourself, bisexual. And like I said, like, gender doesn't determine your character or your personality, so yeah, I don't think like I am the only person on this earth that can see people past their gender. So firmly believe that there are a lot more bisexual and pansexual people out there that just maybe don't know it themselves. Yeah. So it's kind of like amusing to me almost that so many people can fall along the scale. There's still so much like bi erasure going on. There's still so many people saying like bi is not real. So when I was in my first ever relationship with that guy, I was not allowed to make friends or to like hang out with groups as long as there are guys in there. But for some reason, I was allowed to and encouraged to hang out with my ex-girlfriend. I think I must have asked him before. I was like, don't you find it kind of strange that you don't allow me to hang out with a heterosexual male friend, but you allow me to hang out with someone that I've had feelings for and that I've had like romantic history with? He was fucked up. I mean, I didn't argue because I wanted to hang out with her. Like, we're very good friends now, and we dated when we were like 16, so like we didn't have that much of a sexual history. I feel like maybe if sex were to play into it, like, it would be different, but because it was so much like pure affection and pure like love, like, you know, like puppy love, like we can still be friends and we are very comfortable with that now. But it's very strange to me that he could sort of justify his own behavior and what he allowed me to do and what he didn't allow me to do based on gender, just because I guess he really didn't believe that I was gay. Like, he really didn't believe that I could date a woman, that I would choose a woman over him. He just assumed that I was straight and that it was fine. Even when I told him, he's like, yeah, sure. But I don't think he really like took that into account. So learning from that relationship, I'm now a little bit more upfront about my sexual orientation. Because like previously I didn't feel like I needed to. And I know a lot of y'all also asked me like how I came out to my parents. I really blame my young self for having this like, I'm cool, I don't have to say shit, I don't have to come out. If they need to know, then they'll need to know. Because to me, I was like, I will treat my girlfriends the same way I treat my boyfriends. If I'm not at the stage where I'm serious enough to bring them home to my parents to tell them, like, they don't have to know. So that was my rationale, and I still kind of stick by it because I just don't think that like it's worth the trouble, it's worth the emotional turmoil of like bringing people back all the time and be like, this is it, and then it's like, oh, it's actually not it, this is it, oh, it's not it, you know. And because I do really date so rarely, that opportunity hasn't come up. So I really only had the opportunity to come out to my parents this year. And I'm not gonna get into like how we ended up in the relationship, but it's pretty exciting. It's a little bit worthy of a K-drama, not gonna lie. It's been like 8 years in the making. So Mavis and I are gonna do the video when we can, okay? When I guess like circuit breaker lifts and like we're able to. Hopefully we can still do it in the Pride month because I think it's pretty cute. So yeah, anyway, the first few months of dating Mavis, like the thing is, when I first like reconnected with her, I was already like sort of, right, my heart exploding. So I kind of told my little brother about it, and he went, what? You're gay? And I was like, fuck, did I never care to mention that? Because I tell my little brother like everything. So I was like, wait, you didn't know? And he's like, what the fuck, no? And then he went to tell my elder brother, and my brother was like, oh yeah, like I know. And so like we all had this conversation and it was chill. I always told my little brother, he's like 5 years younger than me, hey, anytime right you feel like you might like guys or you might be gay, like don't worry, just tell me, I'll always be there for you. He's like, no Jay, like it's fine, but like I like girls. So that was me just being like super extra. So anyway, both of my brothers already knew that like I was sort of like hopelessly in love with Mavis, and they were like, okay, like, you know, all the best, like hope it works out. Both of them had met Mavis like separately when we went out on like dates and stuff. Like this was late last year. So then when we finally got together, I think I actually told them when I went back to like my family home. I was like telling my mom where I've been, what I've done. I went on a cruise with Mavis, so I was like just telling, and I kept saying we. I didn't say like she. I think I was like purposely avoiding using the pronouns also. So I think like my mom already sort of had an idea that I was sort of seeing someone. And the thing is, like after the first relationship, right, she was like, now that you know what our relationship looks like please do not ever feel pressured to get into another one just for the sake of it. Both my parents knew that like the first relationship wasn't good for me, and they both didn't like him, so they were like, absolutely not. But they also like didn't want to tell me that they didn't like him because they don't want me to like rebelliously like marry him or something, right? So they just kind of like diam kept quiet. So when we broke up, both of them were like, don't do that anymore, like just, you know, find someone that will treat you right. And so I've literally never gotten shit for being single for like 3 almost 4 years. When I finally got together with Mavis, I think my mom was like a little curious. Maybe that might be a reason why I haven't been so like upfront with her, because in the recent years I have been very upfront with her about a lot of things. Both of my parents also follow me on Instagram. I am assuming both of them already have an idea, but it's a different thing to come out to your parents, right? So I think oh my god, I have to find the messages. Wait. My mom sent me a screenshot of her watching my videos, and then she said, today, Valentine's Day, are you busy? And then I was like, yes. And then I took a photo of the food that we were preparing, like me and Mavis. So she called me, and it was a missed voice call. Woo! And then she said, oh, Valentine's Day at home cooking why never go out leh? Your elder brother also bought flowers for his girlfriend. Then I was like, oh, no, at home is a little bit safer because COVID at that point has started like running around, right? Oh my god, I can't believe I fucking said this. I'm just like, whoa, Brenda, you're brave. I was like, oh yeah, I'm also at home with my girlfriend. I was like, you okay with it? And I was like, yeah, she treats me really well. From Sec 3 we already know each other. And after that she was like, who is your girlfriend? Have I met her before? And then I was like, I don't think so. And then I sent a photo of us. She replied within a minute. Wow, props to her, man. She said, very good. She looks pretty good. And then I was like, she's very tall. And then I said like, oh yeah, she's like graduating from uni. And then after that, she just changed the subject. She was like, okay, you want to go out tomorrow? Like for lunch, I'm bringing your little brother out. Then I was like, nah, I'm probably busy. Then she's like, okay. And then a few days later, so she sent me that on Valentine's Day, right? On 19th Feb, so like 5 days later, she sent me the same photo that I sent her. The couple photo, right? And then I was like, why you send me leh? She very quickly was like, oh, sorry, send wrong. And then I was like, it's funny lah, cause you know like aunties are very like that one. They'll just like send photo of their kids and like, you know. So I was like, you told other people, is it? Haha. Just say never mind, like I no problem. Then after that she just said like, oh yeah, like I just wanted to send to my sisters and my friends, like cause you know she's pretty good looking. And I was like, yeah, she is. Then I also said like a lot of people are very supportive of this. And then I said, does dad know? And then after that my mom was like, I don't know about him, like I never asked, but even if he does, like you're fine. Then I was like, thanks. So that's how I came out to my mom. It was very awkward but very cute. And I'm so thankful, I'm so relieved. Honestly, growing up, I always thought that I would be telling my dad first because primarily like growing up I was also closer to my dad. But I remember, this was when I was 16. I was in the car, in the back of the car, and I was like, what do you think about like gay people? And then he was like, you know, okay, the thing is like, for some reason he's not religious, but he always like says God says this. So I was like, okay. But he's like, yeah, I mean like, you know, if God created you to be a certain way, then you know, who are we to say no, like you cannot do this or you cannot do that? Then I was like, good, listening to this like boomer, like wow. So I was like, okay, great. Then after that I was like, what about like bi people, like people that like both? Then he was like, oh no, that's disgusting. And then I was like, I'm sorry. And he was like, it's greedy, it's not real. Like, I think he said something like that. It's like, it cannot be. You have to choose one. And so like, I felt like from there, I could never have told him the truth. I was gonna very easily segue into that. I think I am like that also. But because he said that and because he had such a violent reaction to bi people after having accepted gay people, I was like, okay, so this is just something that we can never discuss. And till now, I still haven't spoken to him about it. Also because like we don't live in close proximity, and I feel like opening this can of worms like at this time is really like not the best idea. Because he follows me on Instagram, I think he already knows. And if he doesn't say anything, then I think like I'll just take it as it's an okay. Like I said in the Q&A, like I don't have to force him to give me a response that I want. Because if I keep poking at him, he wants to come to terms with his feelings. He wants to come to terms with the fact that his daughter is queer. But because I'm not giving him the time and space to, he's just like reacting out of like stress. So I don't want him to do that. I want exposure therapy. Just introduce the idea that I am queer, that I'm dating someone who's female, until like he genuinely like is okay and used to the fact and he can like welcome and accept her, That's how I came out to my parents. That's the only thing that I've ever been afraid of. I've never been afraid of coming out to anyone else. I just feel like some people don't deserve my coming out to because I don't really care about their response. So like, why do I care about telling them? I feel like when I come out to someone, it's like a courtesy. That's my personal opinion. I know some people want to come out publicly to everyone. And now that I've come out to my parents and I'm making this video, I didn't know what a big difference that would make to my confidence. Because like I said, after years and years of people like putting me down and being like bisexual, not real gay, or like, it's just a phase, or this and that, like being dismissive about my sexual orientation, and me being like, well, I don't get the discrimination from being queer. So I felt like I was not being fair to the people that were doing more and like tahaning more to be able to like carry their sexual orientation with pride. Obviously that was a very problematic thinking. I understand that now, and I do not regret making this video at all. If anything, I feel like I should have made it sooner. What I'm really trying to say is I am very happy that I'm coming out. I know some people, including like a very small voice in my head, is like, you're not worth the coming out time. Like, don't make this about you. It's not about you. You're like the least gay person. Even though I'm very proud of who I am and I've never shied away from like talking about it, I didn't realize that I had so much like bi erasure and biphobia like really deeply internalized into me, to the point that I can feel uncomfortable like coming up here to talk about my experience. I really truly felt like my experience was invalid because I'm not gay, I'm not 100% straight. Like, talking about being bi can be met with like so much backlash. Maybe this is something that we should talk about. Like, no matter if you're a little bit gay also, like, we can talk about it. Why not, right? I've always like championed like diversity in thought, in expression, in identity, in sexual orientation, but I never thought to do that for myself, which is like kind of strange. I know a lot of you guys have asked me like what it's like to be bisexual, pansexual, what's the difference, and I was shocked. I was like very happy, but I was like surprised that you guys even want me to talk about it, because of all this like internalized like bi erasure that I had within myself to be like, it's not that important, right? I hope you guys learned something new from this video. If you have any questions for me, if you want to know anything specific, I could get into it. I really have no problems like talking about my dating history, which includes women and includes people that are non-binary. And yeah, I would love to share with you like me and Mavis's like love story over again. Let's open the conversation. I really want to make more videos before like the Pride Month is over. I feel like, oh my gosh, really, like after making this video, I didn't know that there was a weight that could be lifted, because I thought I was weightless, about my sexual orientation, but it really does feel so empowering and so comfortable to really discuss it and discuss like the issues that people of my particular sexual orientation face. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and also don't forget to subscribe to my channel down below. I make new videos every week, possibly more coming ever since that Glassdoor video. A few of you guys have actually reached out to me and be like, you need an editor? I can do it. So I might have an editor on board. Ooh, so I can edit one video, and then like my editor can edit one video, and then we'll have 2 videos a week, which is dope. So don't forget to also click the bell, turn on your notifications so you get my videos hot off the press, and I'll see you guys very soon. You want to say bye-bye? You want to say mama? He's so cute. Look at this little boy. Alright, bye.